Ssemujju Nganda began by complaining whether the agencies had sent the right persons, but we sorted that matter. I didn't want to get into that debate because where it would end would be also whether I am the right person to be hosting. So I never entertained the debate at all. Mr. Paul Kenya, we are walking very close to that 2-hour show of getting to the polls, the votes being cast, the votes being announced, and then until we find out the winner. You've been warning the media that nobody should announce the results, and we are wondering what is very unique about Uganda. In other countries, since at the polling stations there are declaration forms, we can see them, they are stamped. What is so evil about letting the public know that on polling station Muyenga Block Factory, where Kasumba happened to be, the the official there in charge of the Electoral Commission announced these results? What is illegal about that, and what's dangerous about it?
I think that guidance has been misunderstood. Elections in Uganda are held in the public.
Yes.
And after voting, the counting is done at a polling station, and there is a level. There is an announcement that is made at that station that the performance of the candidates is as follows.
So those ones we can announce.
Honorable Chris, Paul, Don, and Ibrahim, you read them
so
out.
If we assume
and
this
actually, by guideline, a copy of the declaration form is given at that point to candidates' agents, and one is supposed to be pinned at that polling station.
So that can be broadcast.
It's a public information. So what we are saying is that the Electoral Commission, which has the ability and the mandate, first of all, to put everything together, tally and ascertain the results of an election, is the one that is mandated by law, empowered by law, to announce a winning candidate in an election. And that is simply the statement.
Okay.
And that is the one that we issue in the guideline and the one we enforce.
So on the 15th of January, I cannot say on live television that at Muyenga Block Factory, where I witnessed, this was what was announced.
Because we have 50,000 polling stations, and you just know Muyenga Block, and now you're announcing that your candidate has won, maybe at Muyenga Block, and then down at another station in Muyenga, and perhaps in Buziga. And that is one parish.
Provisional results.
But you know, we've guided on media how media can even announce provisional results as released by the Electoral Commission, and I think we should follow that, and our audiences should understand that and be patient with the process, which are transparent. The results announced within 48 hours. No one should get in trouble trying to break the news that I have this. No. It's the Electoral Commission that announces. Because, you know, putting together for presidential elections 50,739 polling stations, that is the work of the Electoral Commission. And that's what we'll be doing. We've announced a tally center at Luvowa Lweza, which is our grounds, Electoral Commission grounds, and we are accrediting observers, media. We're in the process, and candidates have agents, presidential candidates have agents, but also at the district level where you have parliamentary candidates, you have the right to deploy an agent to see how the process is done. So I think we shouldn't rush into that and create scenarios that are not provided for in the law.
So the key word here is these are provisional results. When the final results will be from the Electoral Commission.
The Electoral Commission provides the final results. So every result read, for example, by the media needs to be picked from the Electoral Commission. And you need to acknowledge that.
Which has always been the case. By the Electoral Commission. That is the interesting language. Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda, we are not too many days to the election, but as you know, the media and famed journalists yourself, do we see any chances of changes in what has often been the case?
But I don't agree with the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission. If you're a media house and you have capacity to deploy reporters at the 50-something polling stations, you can actually announce results and aggregate them.
No, I think
that happens in the US.
I said I don't agree with you.
He's misleading his audience.
He had you in silence. Listen to his point.
I don't agree.
He's misleading his audience on that.
I don't agree with
because
you.
there is by law,
yes,
the returning officer for presidential election is the chairperson electoral commission.
He respects.
So I think the honorable member of parliament is misleading even a media house. And by the way, no media house has capacity.
You see the trouble.
Capacity to deploy at 59,000.
Assuming they had.
No, but we don't work with assumptions, so we don't want to create a wrong impression.
You see the trouble.
In our audience. Let's tell them, because we're talking about what is going to happen on the 15th.
Mr. Pope,
Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju is a colleague media practitioner.
Since he had you in silence, listen to him in silence.
But I wanted to provide information.
Results.
It's misleading our dear audiences.
Results have been declared at a polling station. The law actually requires, as is rightly said, to pin a declaration form at each and every polling station. Assuming, Kasuma, you had cameras everywhere, they have pinned, and you screen. What stops you from aggregating those results?
I would still mention Samson.
The work of declaring,
Samson,
you can be patient. The work of declaring, please be patient.
But he's assuming,
you see,
and you know,
listen to him. Listen to his
the work of declaring candidates.
Ssemujju also wants patience.
The work of declaring candidates and issuing them with the final declaration form is the work of electoral commission. Nobody can take it away.
Yes. So that's an admission to it.
There's nothing I'm admitting. I'm just explaining to you a process. In all my elections, I correct DR forms. If I total and I am winning, then I will go to electoral commission to officially declare me. They are not the ones who are telling me results. I actually carry my results there.
So what is declaration?
Because it's their responsibility.
It is their responsibility to do
but
so.
Samson, there is a procedure that Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju is not talking about.
But you will go to the press conference and say, I have won.
There is what is ascertaining the results of election. There is something Honorable Ssemujju is not talking about.
Because he raises a point, and I've heard it elsewhere, that legally there is an election that happens. And at every polling station,
results are declared.
There is a result
counted, declared.
Yeah.
And Samson,
just a second. You are making an assumption that the ability.
I'm not just making an assumption.
Listen, you're making an assumption that the ability to pick those results from every polling station is impossible to achieve by any media house.
Not just that. There is another procedure that also both of you are not talking about. The law talks about ascertaining the results of an election and then publishing them under the seal of the Electoral Commission. Okay. I think that's what we are talking about. So I think we need to respect what the law assigns to the Electoral Commission.
Which I agree with. But the question I would
agree with that.
The question
then it is the Electoral Commission that ascertains results.
And nobody is taking away
and
that.
then releases
the question I'm asking,
which is why we give you provisional results.
Yes, the question
and you've already agreed to that.
Yeah, the question I'm asking here is, if I have the ability as a media house, we have the ability we have the ability as a media house to pick those pinned ones, 52,000 of them?
50,739 polling stations across the country
50?
Within less than 48 hours.
If we master the ability to pick all of them, we still are not allowed even to tabulate them.
Because the law does not give you that responsibility.
You don't need the law.
The law doesn't give you that. And so don't take upon yourself what the law doesn't assign you.
Stops
and you don't need to carry that burden.
I don't even see why we're struggling.
Government of Uganda.
Candidate, like Ssemujju has told you, in his constituency, 1 hour after voting, he knows his results.
Yes.
And that is okay. But he cannot announce himself.
That I agree. No. He's saying something different. You see, no media house in Uganda can declare a winner. No media house.
And they have never done.
They can communicate results.
What is that communicating results?
And that's how we have guided that.
Communicating results is declaring the winner.
No matter what happens.
Because when you communicate results, what do you say? That who has won?
Officer, normally what happens?
I will tell you so and so.
Normally what has happened is, normally what has been happening is that the statement has been, these are the provisional results as has been picked from the Electoral Commission.
Yes.
On polling station A, the officer polling,
the presiding
officer has declared so and so. On polling station B, the presiding officer has declared, and we keep mentioning the presiding officer.
You actually, you don't have to even at every polling station.
And that's why
the presiding officer, will announce results
himself.
With your camera, so, you can actually bring the voices of all the presiding officers.
Mr. Bukenya, after your presiding officers, 15 or 16 or 25 of them,
and you have all their voices,
have given those results, and I have computed the results of those presiding officers of yours, I have a number. What do I do with that number?
Following the collection of results, following the procedures that we follow, which is why, Samson, I talked about a step that is solely the responsibility of the Electoral Commission. When it talks about ascertaining results,
yes,
it assigns a responsibility that is specialized to the Electoral Commission and a responsibility in law, and then, of course, publishing under its seal.
Yeah.
So I think let's follow that procedure. We've made provisions for media follow and see provisional results. Elections in Uganda are held in the open, and let's follow that procedure, then we'll be good to go.
So what I've understood this evening is that get that number, keep it to yourself.
You cannot. You see,
it might be a casual conversation, but it's a serious matter.
It is.
And the media houses must act but remain professional at ESCO, because there are those which will want to say so and so as one, even when they don't actually have that compilation.
Yes.
Even in districts, MPs.
So Dr. Chris, it's not a casual matter.
I agree with you where they don't have the results.
Because you are looking at social media and all these things, and then there will be AI and all these things. So that is the reason I was asking, because one, it is important to know, A, who is responsible and who isn't, and B, what is legal, what is illegal. And because I ask these questions on behalf of the media practitioners, so that they can understand what can be and can't be done. And I think there has been guidance here.
And Samson, we are accrediting media from all over Uganda and even internationally, so that they have presence at our National Election Results Tally Center, follow the procedures and announce the right things. But also, Samson, we know that we've just had by-elections and seen a smaller constituency where a radio station belonging to one of the candidates who actually loses, messes up the declaration process because it is not in favor of the winner. I don't know if a team from one group can announce that we have lost elections. So I think let's leave the work of ascertaining and publishing the results of elections to the Electoral Commission. The good thing is that there is opportunity for us to be present at a national level, represented by the media, which we are accrediting right now. Yeah. So NBS will be there, and so many other media houses in Lubowa, but also at the district level. So we will witness this process, and then we will be able to read out and announce provisional results, and then followed by the final results of the elections at all levels, local government, parliament, and president.
And as you know, the Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda, that even after with your own declaration forms, and you have your computer and you know what the result is, you are not a winner until the Electoral Commission says
that. I agree 100%. And we all know
that's why you don't need to carry the burden or the burden of an institution that is mandated to do so.
To officially declare winners. But communication of results is not their duty. That's why the law says you begin communicating the results at a polling station. In fact, before you leave, you even leave results there. Okay. And it was for a purpose. The law never wanted to abandon this whole exercise to you. The law wanted the citizens' participation. And that's why you are, after issuing declaration forms to agents, you're also leaving for the citizens. And they will begin celebrating.
Official Electoral Commission.
It's still the
Dr. Chris.
But for me, the bigger issue, and you can see how uneasy.
I'm not uneasy at all. I'm providing this is voter education. This is also guidance to the members of the public and to our fellow. I think we need to know that.
Mr. Paul,
I'm not uneasy at all. I'm mentioning a guideline which I'm really conversant.
Mr. Paul Kenya, you should learn from Officer Don Mwezi that the Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda knows how to choose his
No. I think I've guided him well. He's a colleague and I think a friend.
You see,
I've guided him well.
The law, you can't interpret the law your own way, because we are right now grappling with the another provision of the law that allows citizens to stay near a station but within a prescribed distance. I have seen a communication, official communication by the chairman of the Electoral Commission attempting to amend the law. Yet he is a lawyer and a judge of Court of Appeal. The law says you can stay. And he says, but there are cases when the polling station is a narrow place. People who made the law knew that those polling stations existed. Don't attempt. I agree with you that we must be cautious for the media not to incite the public by sometimes even making false declarations. But you cannot stop anyone in Uganda or anywhere from communicating results that he has received at a polling station, and you cannot stop anyone from totaling those results, and he will tell you that Ssemujju has won or lost. That you cannot.
Yes. What they are trying to cure is,
they will stop anyone from declaring a winner.
Yes. Saying that Ssemujju Nganda is losing when he is not.
A reckless individual
that shouldn't bother him.
And reckless media houses.
Yes. That shouldn't bother him.
They are those which deliberately want to distort facts and mislead the public. And we just want to caution them that,
especially now that everybody who owns a TikTok account, YouTube account, absolutely, wears a press jacket.
And I wanted to get to that, that there is a lot of abuse of social media today, especially the event of artificial intelligence, where people just post. The other day there was a post saying the first lady is calling upon Ugandans to abandon NRM and vote opposition, kind of recklessly footages. Then there is one where they say the president was warning international media not to step in Uganda, and they mentioned one of the CNN journalists. When I cross-checked, this was just AI.
I've seen
and
an AI
just
video
warn Ugandans.
I've seen an AI video using the voice of the Honorable Ssemujju Nganda responding to an AI video of the voice of the speaker.
Of the speaker, exactly. Yeah. So we are going to activate the law on computer misuse. And we are also going to apply other measures. I may not announce on TV.
But you may not need it because you are going to switch off internet.
No.
So you don't need it.
They have said it will be on.
So we want to apply other measures.
And you believe that it will be on.
Contain that kind of irresponsible and reckless behavior. Yes. Because there are very many people who are just using AI to put all sorts of footages which are false and distorting the narrative, and we would stop that.
Okay. Honorable Dr. Chris Bariomunsi, as media practitioners, should we prepare for life without the internet for some weeks?
Like I've already said, I don't want to discuss speculation and so forth. The internet will be on. It will be on. So why are you worried? Why are you worried? Let's call for civility.
Yes.
Don't take it away like you are misinterpreting the Minister of Justice, his words. The way I understood him was calling for civility in this campaign, so there is no invitation for tear gas and so forth. But Ssemujju is distorting.
I am not distorting. You said
so.
The way
internet, nobody should be worried about connectivity, about the internet, and unless there is true reason, which I don't expect the reason to be there. We have other modern technologies that we have that we can use to handle any situation without switching off internet.
Okay.
That I can tell you as the Minister for ICT.
I don't know whether some of those modern technologies are the ones that were complained about in Elira that went missing.
No.
There was a piece of equipment that went missing. By the way,
usually it just calls for discipline from all stakeholders. If we have a civilized and disciplined way of handling things as Ugandans, those things you have will not be.
So I'm breaking the news to you watching stopped from doing what you allowed them to do. And I've also heard you also questioning some events that have happened. Are your candidates being treated the way you hoped they would be treated, or are you also complaining that things have taken a turn that you never expected they would?
Well, first, like I mentioned earlier, the campaigns started in the end of September, and they are progressing, not without challenges or without issues. But generally, like I've indicated, candidates have achieved, especially at presidential level, they have achieved up to 70% of their harmonized program. So the first issue we need to consider is that we are conducting the campaigns according to a harmonized program. The harmonized program is also based on guidelines that we issued, which are extracted from the law. So campaign period is a regulated period. Campaigns are regulated activity. Candidates have rights, duties, and responsibility. And that's why we say that during the harmonization, one of the things that we do nice, Samson, is where are you going to be, what time, which day and what time. But it also includes routing. How are you going to get there? The details of the routing could change because on the ground, now with your teams that are on the ground, together with security, they have to determine how best you get to your venue. I think that's why we've had some issues coming up that have been told not to use this route. That doesn't change the fact that someone is in a district and they need to do a campaign and that they're still under, they still can be regulated in how they...
Yeah, but
I think the objective is to make sure that a candidate gets there.
I hope you realize that numbers are the bread and butter of political races.
Yeah, numbers are critical, but also...
And you understand that a politician would like to pass where the numbers are because he's sending a message to numbers.
Now, that's why they need to be, they need to work closely with, because some basics, or not even basics, but the daily life of a community remains. For example, a main road remains a highway for traffic from across the region from Mombasa to Rwanda, Burundi, Congo. All that remains in place. Hospitals, markets. This is why we sit and agree that while you have a right, and that's what I mentioned, candidates have rights, duties, and responsibilities. And that includes responsibilities to the communities where they are going. So I think that's where we've had successes, but also challenges. How do I move? No, I've been told not to use this route, and you still need to agree to that. And I think that's so. Whenever we've had issues, we've called in the candidates and enforcement, because traffic rules remain in place, and law and order remains. It's even more important when you have crowds. Not that it's not important in our everyday time, but a crowd of so many people, who is there? What are their intentions? So the more reason an eye needs to be kept on it. And so we've called understanding for agreement for good coordination. And I can say that despite what we've seen and had, we've achieved, if we look at our tracker at presidential level, I can say it authoritatively that candidates have achieved up to 70% of their scheduled campaign meetings, despite of the incidences that we've seen. And whenever an incident arises, we've been engaging directly to see that we resolve it.
Is there a particular candidate you're particularly uncomfortable with in terms of how they have either stuck or not stuck to the agreed guidelines? Or well, generally all candidates are doing
the well? 8 candidates are all my candidates. They are all my candidates. They're in the race and are talking about me as Electoral Commission.
Yes, I have taught.
And wherever we've had...
I have taught, but I can tell you that sometimes in a class you said that student gives me a lot of trouble.
Sometimes our engagements are between us and the candidates. Of course, some get to the media, and I think I want to keep it like that. We've called candidates to order, and I'm Electoral Commission, so I don't want to bring what we've been doing and handling us. But whenever we've had issues, we've addressed them to the affected persons. But we've also had public meetings, and I think we've called in the press to see, especially the beginnings of our meetings, and then we sit and go deeper into issues. So there are 8 candidates. They are my candidates. I'm not going to get here and start castigating them when we've already addressed them in our meetings and forums. Yes.
Briefly.
I can understand, and I am sympathetic to Kenya. He cannot be the one to answer this. The candidate that has been targeted most has been the Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu by police and the military. The police officer will tell you that his usage of the road is the problem. But I have seen them tear gassing people who are waiting either to wave at him or to see him as he's passing. They are not in the road, even those far away from the road. As long as they are many, they are being tear gassed and they are being pushed and chased away. This is not the first election. I told the people during COVID that to Mr. Museveni, COVID was God sent. because it gave him cover to brutalize and make sure that the opposition doesn't organize sufficiently against him. In this case, and my understanding of Mao, I want to rely on it. He said this is going to be a quiet election. If you're not quiet, we will make you quiet. And they really made people quiet in Guru when they went there.
But I'll ask the Honorable Ibrahim Nganda.
Because
as a politician,
yes,
when you stand on the podium,
yes,
and you say, look, this is the number of officers. We are more than them. So we can do whatever we want. And you're asking and quoting trouble.
I don't know. I want to contextualize that statement because we made similar statements, and they should carry the meaning of those. They shouldn't. The reason the Honorable Chagulanyi said so, maybe West at one time did. Maybe I have personally made a similar statement. It's because when you get corroborated by these people who are herding us like animals every day, they tear gas you, they shoot at people, you will suddenly tell people that we are more than them. I don't think the intention was that you go and pick guns from them and beat them, but was to communicate to these policemen that you guys, you are doing this work on our behalf, we are more than you. If you continue,
if you are more than us,
listen to me, if you continue brutalizing us, Article 3 of the Constitution says we have a duty as a citizen to protect the Constitution if we are overthrowing it. That's my understanding. Okay. And I don't think this... See, one day Mbesje was asked by a radio station to denounce...
Yes, police. The duty is to make sure there is law and order.
Yeah, so, and I agree with you, Chris, but I have said, if police abandons its constitutional duty, and it begins brutalizing the population. Article 3 says the moment you overthrow the constitution, the citizen is supposed to use all the necessary forces to protect the constitution. There is nobody, because you see...
Controlling a crowd is overthrowing the constitution.
Chris, I have told you, if you are listening, these ones are not controlling the crowd. They are just tear gassing people because they want to create an impression that the opposition is not there, no crowd is not following, and project images on New Vision every day of a bigger crowd by himself. So please argue that statement in context.
Let me also ask,
yes,
those who hear it in the force,
yes,
because one of the things I'm doing these days, I'm studying meaning and discourse analysis.
Yeah.
When the police hears that statement, Officer Mweze, what do you hear?
You're asking him or you're asking him?
I'm asking him because, as you know, the history of the police force has the incidents of the 1990-1991, where you had an unfortunate incident of, I think it must have been 10 officers dead and dogs. And
Kasumba,
that could have
Kasumba, the policeman will surprise you.
So
after 20,
when you hear this statement, what do you make
after 2016,
how do they sound to you?
After 2016 election, police was castigated by 7 for voting against him. In Mbuya here, they voted for Besije, voted for Rukwago. The explanation that Kayihura gave was that they are civilians in barracks, they had to chase all of them. And today I believe it. If you have free and fair election, maybe him, but the rest of the police will vote against him. At one time he was quarreling that even if you put a jerrycan, police will vote for a jerrycan. So is with the military.
Don't when you listen, when Chris, you hear this, let me hear they mean.
Just a second, if you can allow me. Let me hear Chris. I am going to help you.
The police, they don't have free and fair elections.
I am going to help you, Chris.
Not a secret ballot.
If you're asking, the time I was in the media, initially we had polling stations inside barracks. For the military, they were brought at the quarter guard. It was easier to know. I have gone to manage elections to represent candidates in Kasese. You go to a polling station.
Our polling stations for security installations as well have always been outside.
No, initially they were inside the barracks, and it is Rukwago who moved the motion in Parliament.
Outside.
Anyway, whatever it doesn't. So the point is, you have polling stations where security, military, police vote from. At one time in Guru Museveni used to get 0 at those polling stations. But I don't want us to lose the point. So the point that you made about the statement by the Honorable Kyagulanyi, I want us to contextualize that statement. Because if you pick it emotionally, you're going to represent the message that, because this was a response. So you brutalize us, but we are more than you.
Honorable Ssemujju Nganda.
Yes.
When you release a statement, you're not in charge of how it is read and understood. So let's find out. When the police hears this statement, what does it make of it?
Thank you, Samson. Before the candidate sent his message, which we all saw, and Ssemujju and others cheaply want to reduce it, they started with a slogan, which I'm surprised that most people don't want to interrogate or to ask. Protest, vote.
Yes.
And they have the other version, Tubazoganye. Those are very strong words, especially if you come from my end.
Resistance.
If you come, allow me to give my views, because you're pressing your head on my shoulders. Let me. I carry the head.
Honorable Ssemujju,
don't give me.
You were hard in silence.
Don't give. Allow me to use the head that I came with.
Honorable Ssemujju, you were hard in silence.
When you want to protest the vote, and you connect it with statements that we know the number of police officers and the army, and you say we shall bring a Tanzania, we will bring a Madagascar, Ssemujju is a strong man, he's not a coward, he will not mind about those words. But the village I stay in, which is the police force, we take it seriously. That's number one. Number two is a misleading perception that civic rights cannot be regulated or stopped. Enjoying individual human rights cannot be superior to the public rights. Whereas you have all the rights to paying, to seek for votes, to participate, to target numbers, you have a community, you have a public which has its own rights. And I can tell you, we don't enjoy rights in virtue. They are people. This country does not belong to trees and buildings. When you talk about NBS, you're not talking about the building. They are people, they are owners, they are clients, there's business, and so on and so forth. So the duty to regulate individual rights versus public rights is vested with us. Okay. And it's constitutional. I do not know why people forget and they say police is involved, police is partisan, police is acting political. I can tell you, if you have a political activity and I'm a stakeholder, chances are that I will appear, speak, or sound political. I can tell you, without security, the rest of the issues Ssemujju and his group are dealing with or talking about will not make sense.
This group, you mean politicians?
Your group?
The safety of this process is primary to the campaign posters, to nominations and the rest.
Okay.
If you subtract the safety of the process, you will not get results. And I can understand why Ssemujju is comfortable, because that is not his duty to secure this country.
It is my duty.
It is not.
It is your, I employ you.
And that's why you stop.
So you don't say that
I have a duty,
it is my duty
as your worker to protect you.
Yeah, don't pretend it is your duty.
Whereas Ssemujju's duty is to look for votes. He doesn't care how his safety will be handled.
I do.
I can tell you, in Japan, Samson, a former prime minister was assassinated at the campaign rally. In United States, where everybody loves to mention or use as an example, the current president was attacked twice. He survived twice.
But he's the one who wants everybody to have a gun.
That is United States.
Yeah.
So when you have a country like Uganda, it is bigger than the rally. Whereas the candidate is looking at the rally and the people.
Okay. So how many people?
Our work is bigger than that. We are looking at business people. We are looking at our security.
There's one person on the floor.
We're looking at the bigger picture.
Okay.
And as a politician, I agree with Ssemujju to complain.
As a politician, you agree with Ssemujju? He
has to give political statements. He must appear here on TV and appear an angel. But when we leave the studio and go on ground, and his opponents supporters attack him, he will call me. So that's how the life is. He will call the DPC. You have heard how he fueled the police vehicle.
You must always report to the police.
He can freely criticize police, but I can tell you, we will not be diverted. We will do what the mandate dictates.
I'd like to.
You can just give me a second. I don't know if your TV broadcast images of policemen in police uniform placking posters of Kyagulanyi. Did you see that in Mbale?
Yes.
So your behavior.
We also have images.
Yes.
Of various candidates placking posters of other candidates.
No, but the police has a duty to stop that. If they participate,
I don't know why Ssemujju has said
if they participate in it, let me tell you, if you crowbar me, you crowbar my supporters, you tear gas them, you chiboko them every day, I will not like you. You can't force me, and you can't pretend, because you see, in 2020, 2021, the cover was COVID. Now, public road, now this. You will always find a reason.
There was no COVID, that's what you're suggesting. When you say the cover was COVID, what do you mean?
Yes.
There was no COVID in this country.
There was COVID, but I said
so why do you call it a cover?
It was being misused.
Why do you criticize
the problem is that for you're extremely partisan.
No, but
even where you shouldn't engage yourself.
You are dishonest. You are reducing
you are always dishonest.
And you're saying it was a cover. So you did not say COVID started in Uganda?
You see, no, I haven't. Haven't you seen NRM people in Mbarara holding a procession?
Where?
Have you stopped them?
Where?
In Mbarara.
So if there is one person raping, does raping become
when NRM carries out,
was COVID in Uganda, it was not there?
I'm talking about your partisan behavior.
No,
that NRM will have a procession, you don't attack it. When it's Kyagulanyi, you attack it.
You're a serious politician.
You are partisan.
But you're dishonest. You're very dishonest.
I mean, if I am dealing with a person as partisan, you are
very dishonest.
Can I have your
because NRM will have a procession?
No, you are saying,
I want you to condemn the NRM procession the same way you condemn it. You must do it the same way.
We have suspects taken to court for NRM primaries from Kololo.
I'm talking about the procession is in Mbarara. So that's the point.
Where do
you live? Have to need a fire extinguisher.
I don't know
where do you live?
Let me tell you something.
And you can see the mentality.
For the time
being, if you have a policeman like him, he will shoot at you.
You are very dishonest politician.
He's only putting on the police uniform.
I am monitored Ssemujju.
Honorable Ssemujju,
I find
without you
a show off.
You've also made it very hard for me to police the show.
Okay. I am sorry if I did, but if you have a partisan policeman like this,
if you have a dishonest politician, who has shown through a system he criticizes
throughout the show he's condemning one candidate.
Allow me to bring in.
As if it's only one candidate who is offending
Dr. Chris.
You were a candidate in this electoral process, and you
are talking about
and you have not been corrupt.
Let's listen.
Yes, I haven't,
because you have been behaving.
Let's listen to.
So why do you defend criminals?
Dr. Chris,
when you're not one of them?
NRM people who are holding a procession in Mbarara are not criminals.
Sorry?
Why are you criminalizing
show me the footage
liberty?
I have seen rallies of NRM.
Just imagine if you met a person
outside the town
holding a gun.
In Honorable Chris's constituency.
Senior Superintendent of Police.
I knew he was going to be worked up.
No, you are dishonest. And I am sure you know it.
Partisan.
I will give you the
benefit from this.
You don't even deserve to have our national TV. You don't deserve to have our
I don't think you deserve to be in Parliament, Ssemujju.
Don't let me give you the responsibility.
Dishonest people.
Seize your fire.
I mean, all of my constituencies.
So you behave different outside the TV.
They are different from you.
I request you to seize your hold your fire. Hold your fire, because once you hold yours,
I am talking to my boss.
You should be putting on NRM uniform.
Hold your fire, then he will hold his.
You should be putting on NRM uniform.
Just hold your fire. Just hold your fire.
Because see his behavior.
Honorable Ssemujju, thank you. Let's get to one of the subjects we must get over before we finish. Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, there are many people who still don't understand how somebody who contributed significantly to the Bushwa struggle, a colleague in your own profession, Dr. Kizza Besigye, continues to be in incarceration. The case hasn't progressed anywhere near conclusion. Perhaps some even argue this is not new. Besigye could have broken some records on accusations, and certainly not broken accusations on how many of those cases have been tried successfully. What is the latest on matters retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Kifefe Besigye?
Well, let me first comment on what is making these friends quarrel. I think we should leave police to do its work. Just hold on.
Let him submit.
And even us who are candidates, because I'm also a candidate in Kanungu, we must observe the law and the regulations and allow to be regulated the way we do campaigns. But if you think you are a presidential candidate and you disregard the law, you disregard the rules, definitely the state agencies will come in to say, please, there are boundaries. You are allowed to move from here and stop here. And that is true for presidential candidates, true for all the other candidates. NRM, even when you see those processions going on, we harmonize with the police, we harmonize with authorities, because assemblies and all those movements are regulated under the law. So don't see NRM people moving, and if they have consulted and worked with the police, and for you are just doing it in a manner which is disrespectful of the law, then you expect police to corroborate or to stop those who have followed the law. Let me come to your
just
issue.
before you get
Yes.
there, I think one of the things coming out here is I was unfortunate whilst in school that I escaped out of school a few minutes before the time to leave and got caught in what I should never be involved in. But the question is, if we have 5 boys, all of us have committed the same offense, and Kasumba is sent home and the rest stay, it becomes difficult to understand why that is the case. Although being sent from school should happen because I committed the offense, but why am I going and the others staying is what we're looking for. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I get you.
If we have all escaped, let us all go home.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Of course, if you have all escaped, all of you should be treated the same. But the challenge could be out of the 5, maybe one asked for permission, but he didn't announce that I have permission. You move together, and because of you have escaped when he has permission.
Or he's the son of a teacher.
Are suspended. They come with parents. Some are remorseful, others ask for forgiveness, others accept, others give some explanation. But there are those who are adamant. Probably those are the ones that should be really
but there are also teachers who look at somebody and say, you look like you want to escape.
if they have intelligence.
Okay.
We have intelligence, you might escape.
If they find you with
why are you looking like you want to escape?
And petrol and magal to cut the face.
And the police have also,
Just a
by the
little
way,
bit of human
to prevent you from committing
Absolutely.
crime.
Absolutely. In my town here, in the middle of a town, there is a presidential candidate who came and held a rally there at the tax park, a presidential candidate. The others, they must choose for you which routes and which venue. You have every reason to be angry. During COVID, the NRM people held a rally in my constituency in Charwajara. For me, they stopped me 2 kilometers away. Even access itself was a problem. Chris Variomuns, when we complain, I have nothing against police. Some of the policemen are professional people. They are not like this one here. And we respect them. We respect them. I have said so.
Honorable Nganda, please
And we respect
Honorable Nganda,
them.
please don't go there.
I have come
Let it
here
not be
and I have
personal.
told you, I gave you an example of my nomination. Police stopped me at the border between my constituency and Kasanga. And you can go and ask them. And I told my people, please, I don't want a war with you. Stay here. I'll go for nomination and find you. It's not that we are mad people. When you begin firing tear gas in 2 communities that are waiting to see Chagulanyi, and then you want now to criminalize everybody, even waiting by the roadside to wave is a crime. You cannot rationalize it. You can't.
Sometimes you don't consume the intelligence information the police may have. You may be organizing a function, maybe somebody wants to come and spoil it. Maybe they don't explain, and maybe because they don't want that havoc to happen, they say maybe relocate, because they have some information you don't have. But maybe police should do better in terms of communicating when they are disrupting an activity.
But I've told you, Chris,
Let us talk about the son of Rukunji.
I saw with my eyes policemen lining up during NRM primaries to elect NRM people in NRM primaries.
Calm down.
Let's talk about
I saw it.
Let's talk about the son of Rukunjiri.
Ssemujju is always obsessed with the first family, then now he has added the police. So calm down, calm down.
But if you are in a country where a president appoints his wife a minister, his son,
Dr. Williams, you are the one who opened that kind of
certainly be obsessed. If you are insane, if you are sane, you
Allow
will
me
be
to respond to
obsessed.
the issue which has been raised.
You are the one who opened the can of worms.
That whoever wants something,
Now,
you must drive to go to meet Sare. You
now
must
the
be
issue
obsessed
of-
with that family.
The issue of Dr. Kizza Besigye, I think it has been the public domain. When you ask what is new,
Their political party patron, yes.
what is new, people know what has been going on. But fast forward, we of course all know he was arrested in Nairobi and then brought into Uganda, charged under the military court, the court martial, and remanded. And of course, we know the Supreme Court
Decision.
made a ruling
Very early in
in an
the year.
earlier appeal which had been given to it, making a pronouncement on how the military court was functioning then, and among the recommendations which the Supreme Court, which many people don't want to tell the public, the Supreme Court guided that the law could be amended. As it was, it had gaps. It had a lot of lacuna. For instance, the Supreme Court didn't say that civilians can't be tried in a court martial. It didn't say that. It said they can be tried, but the law should make such a provisions, which amendments were brought to Parliament, and we have since amended the law to provide for all those arrangements. And of course, following that pronouncement by court, then Dr. Kizza Besigye and many other civilians who were being tried under the military court were now relocated to the civilian courts. What has been obtaining, I think there has been a lot of ping pong between the defense team and the courts. We have seen situations where Dr. Kizza Besigye and his lawyers asking the judge to recuse himself. And of course, you know, the way the courts work, it's up to the judge to use his own discretion, either to recuse or to remain. There have been several applications, there has been that ping pong, and the state has said it is ready for the trial. Even the issue of bail, it is the discretion of the judicial officer who is presiding over the case. I have heard the Secretary of Public saying, President Museveni, you release Dr. Kizza Besigye. We addressed the media a few days ago in Rukunjiri, and if I can repeat what I said, is that the president, I'm not a lawyer, but I am also educated, I think has no authority to pardon somebody who is under trial. He has even no authority to order judges or judicial officers to handle a case in a particular way. I think what all of us are calling for is that if the prosecution is ready, the defense team should also get ready, and the Dr. Kizza Besigye gets a speedy trial, because there should be a fair and just process, so that if the state has strong evidence against him, let them put it out, and then the defense will make a response, and then judiciary will decide. I earlier on met the president earlier this year over the issue. You recall I visited Dr. Kizza Besigye in Luzira, the time when he was on a hunger strike, and I never talked to him to resume consuming food, because the president then, why I discussed with the president, that time I was raising it to him that the perception in the public is that Kizza Besigye is being arrested because he's an opposition figure. That was the perception. And I was asking him, can you allow me, as the Minister of Information, to access the evidence from the security and the prosecutors, so that maybe even this can be known by the public? But he said, no. The evidence will be played in court, and the public will know it from court. And what he told me that time was, you work with the Attorney General to expedite the process of transferring the case from the court martial to the civilian court, and he can even apply for bail in the civilian court. So I think the delays, in my view, have been occasioned by the procedures and the arguments within court. Because I think it is now a number of months when the state said, the prosecution said, we are ready to proceed. And then there are all those procedural questions by the lawyers, and my appeal would be they should sit down, harmonize the processes, and then he gets a fair and speedy trial. And let me say also that when I visited Dr. Kizza Besigye, I had an engagement with the opposition leaders, and I got a sense that some of them may not even want this trial to end soon. That's the impression I got. Because we're having a discussion, but maybe some of them want to just put politics into it and have the issue drag, but nobody wishes, if I can talk as a Mnyachigezi from Muchigezi, none of us wishes Dr. Kizza Besigye to be in prison.
Okay.
Yes, he should be out, but unfortunately, the judiciary is independent. We cannot order it to behave in a particular way, but we hope the prosecution side from government and the defense team can harmonize their acts, and then Dr. Kizza Besigye gets a speedy trial. The
question then will be, will it be new? Certainly not. If Uganda and Dr. Besigye find themselves in a situation 3-4 years down the line, the state has lost interest in the case, and it's still another case with Dr. Besigye in which there is evidence, he has been presented before a court, and then the state loses interest, and then the cases are dropped.
Well, I don't want to discuss speculation because
because there is a pattern.
I assume that the arresting team had sufficient suspicion and have since then gathered sufficient evidence,
which has always been the case,
which is credible, which they can use before the courts.
Okay.
I would be taken aback
okay.
if, for instance, they don't have any evidence really that they are relying on to arrest Kizza Besigye and get him in prison for all these months. I hope they have assembled sufficient evidence, because the public will be watching as the court handles this issue, and I hope it will be, as always, handled in the open for Ugandans to see.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Besigye is your patron for the People's Front for Freedom.
The chairperson of the Committee of Eminent Persons.
Eminent Persons, yes. Yeah. I'm sorry for the wrong appellation there. You've listened to Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, your response.
Chris speaks like Al-Sahaf. You remember the one of Iraq? Because Chris is a very intelligent person. He was our commissioner. You cannot doubt his intelligence and knowledge. But he also has a duty to defend government, even where government is wrong. Dr. Kizza Besigye is abducted from Kenya illegally, brought back into Uganda, taken to a military court. Museveni's son, who heads the army, says we are going to hang him. I have even identified a tree. It is Saturday, one of those days of the army. And
you mean the account with that name?
The account?
You mean the account with that name?
So the whole story about Besigye is not a story of criminality. It's a story of someone who offended Museveni, and therefore, and Besigye had told me, the road mayor, at one time, we went to visit him at Kasanga, and he said General Saleh had told him 2021, when he stood, first time he stood for presidency, that we are going to isolate you and crush you. That he said Saleh told him. So his whole case, you go and kidnap a person from Kenya, you follow no procedure, you offend Kenyan laws, you offend international law. In other cases, I will tell you, we have NRM MPs who were arrested on corruption, and their matter never took place. The trial didn't take place. Why? As soon as they raised the issue of being tortured, remember Akamba, the way it was handled, court said, under the Anti-Torture Act, you can't try a person the moment these procedures. So what is happening in court that Chris is calling ping pong has been addressed today, this week. One of the lawyers, the Lord Mayor, told court that procedural justice is as important as substantive justice. If you will not follow the procedures, it means you're going to crash the whole trial. Okay. So the arguments have been arguments about the procedures.
The means as important as the end.
Exactly. So that's what has been happening in court. Initially, Besigye was before a military court. And they said, you have delayed the military, by now it should have, you remember what the president said? That he created the military court because the ordinary courts delay. Yes. So they wanted the summary trial and summary execution, maybe. Because the son had said, we have already planned, we are going to hang Besigye from a certain tree somewhere. And that's why they took him to the military, where the lawyers get arrested and are beaten.
But we've also been told that by some people very close to knowledge that those tweets are burnt and they should not be taken very seriously.
But someone holds a public office.
But if people close to him are saying this is banter, what do you do?
As the official spokesperson of government, that most of those tweets are not official. They are he just tweets in his private capacity, in his unguarded moments. There is a way the army communicates, there is a way the government communicates. Yeah. So when he puts casually that we shall hang him,
you mean that's
don't take it as if government has communicated.
You mean that's where I've reached as a country?
No, that's where we've
Chris,
been.
I thank you. I didn't know. But that's where we have reached.
Like you are the official spokesperson of PFF.
Yes.
Is what you converse with your wife at home, official position of the party.
But that's public.
There is a way the party communicates.
You want to come to my bedroom?
That I'm saying. Whatever you utter as Ssemujju in the official position of PFF. No. But if you want to communicate the position of the party, there is a mechanism you use.
I said earlier,
so similarly, if the army is to communicate officially, they have a mechanism they communicate.
But the Honorable Chris Variomunsi, I think what the Honorable Ssemujju here is that the line between Samson Kasumba, the individual, and an employee of NBS can be so blurred to the extent that there is a social media and editorial policy here that commands what I can do with a private social media account that is older than my stay here. And I must be cognizant of that. I think that's the point he's raising.
You see, if I have, thank God, I don't operate any social media account.
Yet.
But if I go on a social media account and I say, as PFF will do this, how do I distance myself from that statement? Because most of these tweets have been on the official account of CDF, not MOHOS. And when you're in the public office, Chris, please, you can do better than that. Okay. That you have a CDF and you say he behaves like that, and for you it is okay. Disregard. How do you disregard? But the point, I don't want to lose the point.
Yeah, but so, since you're interested in academia, Honorable Ibrahim, there's what they call the rhetorical triangle. And there's been a huge philosophical debate over the whole idea of who is in charge of meaning. Is it the author, is it the text, or is it the reader? And many scholars argue that if you want to know what was meant by Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda, as long as he's alive, you go to Honorable Nganda. Some are arguing, no, as a reader I can determine what Nganda meant. Then some are saying, no, it is the speech. So in this case, who determines the meaning? Do we go to the person who wrote the tweet, or do we readers say, no, you are the CDF, what you said means this?
You see,
or is it the text? So that battle has been around for a very long time.
The president called the president of Kenya and apologized.
Yes.
Maybe Chris Variomunsi would have made a statement like he's making today. But he said, I am sorry what my son said. He even at that time removed him from commanding the land forces, but unfortunately Museveni being Museveni as he was removing him for offending Kenya, he was also promoting him to become a general. So for me,
maybe we'll have another show because those tweets have since disappeared. So they are no longer the whole, which is one of the events of the other day. The whole story dried out.
The whole story of Besigye. Yes. I want to contextualize it and look at the way the military is arbitrating in conflict and in politics in Uganda. Because you had Moses Kainerugaba announcing he would be a president, no civilian will be a president. He even started addressing rallies.
Now we have an election.
You covered it.
Yes.
Immediately NRM is done with their primary, he congratulates them and he says, for us, our duty is to provide you with the logistics. You have Kenyans who are arrested because they have appeared at a rally of Chagulanyi. You remember Raila Odinga was at Museveni's rally at one time. And as they leave, first of all, the courts of law issue an order that you must produce these Kenyans. They say we don't have them. The president says, no, we have them, they are in a fridge. And the Kenyans, as they are arriving in their country, are telling you where we have been held. There are 150 Ugandans. You have a priest who has gone missing. Later the military said we have him. That should worry anyone, including Chris. And I know publicly he may not. But where you have the military taking over the roles of police, I was told by Brigadier Sebagala, I hope that is still his rank, in the 60s, they were executing a war in Rwenzori. But he said as a procedure, we had a unity of police in our area, that when we arrest a rebel, we hand over to police because it's their duty to process suspects and so on and so forth. Today you have the military. The other day Sam Mugumi, I don't know about Dr. Besigye. Sam Mugumi went missing. We don't even know where he is. You hear stories he's in Mbuya, you hear stories he's here.
Do we have the latest on Sam Mugumi, Dr. Chris?
Because the law in Uganda is the law on missing persons.
Yes.
If your dear one goes missing for 3 days or so, you make a case, report to police.
Okay.
And internal affairs and police have a duty to assist the next of kin in looking for the person. I don't have the latest in terms of where he is.
I've been informed by my producer that we have run out of time and I don't want to be arrested on set.